Hello and welcome to the Aerosystems 737 tutorial on how to set the system up. My name is Andrew McLean and the developer of the software. Before we get started, if you're wondering what type of aeroplane this is a Diamond DA40. Any other light aircraft pilots out there, I can highly recommend flying this aeroplane. Okay, installation should have been complete after the download, and you should be seeing two icons on the screen like these in the top right hand corner called Aero Server and Aero Avionics. Now I've got Flight Simulator running down here already. The first thing you should do is double click on the Aero Server software, which starts the Aero Server package itself. Now the Aero Server package does not contain any avionics whatsoever, but it is an interface to the avionics displays, and this should be run on the same machine that Flight Simulator is running. Now if you're on across a network environment, that's really important. For this demo, we're on the same machine, so there is nothing complicated to set up. What we can see here then, Flight Sim and Aero Server should be running on the same machine at all times. For those of you wishing to purchase the product and buy an activation key, select File and Activation Key. You'll see two codes here, Aero Code 1 and Code 2. If you go to the website, enter these two codes into the boxes on the website, press the buy button, and I will send you an activation key. That key will be emailed to you, of course, and paste that down here and press activate. The software is now activated. This is the only piece of software that you need to activate, and it's very important that it's run on the same machine as the Flight Sim. Okay, so this piece of software is running. Minimize that, and we'll double click on the avionics package, and this is the screen you should see. So I'll minimize Flight Sim for the moment. Very simple. That's it. This setup is done and you're ready to go. So let's take a look at a little more detail. Aero Server package is running. Flight Sim software is running. Now the way we use the Aerosoft Avionics package is this should be in the foreground like this, and we can then send command shortcuts to the package. You'll notice down here there's a checkbox on the Aero Server that says keep FSX on top of other windows. If I turn that off and select the avionics, the Flight Sim disappears. So if I select the Aero Server again, check this box, Flight Sim stays on top. Okay, I'm going to minimize this now, and you'll see that I can click on Flight Sim, or I can click on the avionics. Now some of you have emailed me and said, well, why does the Flight Simulator stop? If we go up to Flight Sim itself and press Alt, go to the Options menu, Settings menu, and General, you'll see here in the Program section, Pause on Task Switch. If this is on, Flight Simulator will pause when you go to use the avionics. So make sure that checkbox is actually off and press OK. That's it. It should be ready to go. So let's have a look at a few other bits and pieces. Positioning and sizing of the avionics. Now I'll just minimize Flight Sim. One menu system in this software. Right click and that brings up this menu. There's a help system, a system to let you choose metric or imperial units, and these menu items here which allow you to display the four different screens. So I'm going to turn one of them off now, the navigation display. It's already enabled because it's checked. Turn that off. This is called the primary flight display, and I want to move the primary flight display, so we right click again and say move. Two very simple commands to move it. Hold down Control and click and drag anywhere around the screen that you wish. To size it, hold down the Shift key, click and move the mouse up and down. So you can see you can get an infinite range on these instruments. So I'm going to hold down Control and move the primary flight display over here. Right click, show navigation display. That's this system here. Right click, you'll see it's already been selected to move the navigation display for you. Hold down Control, move the display, hold down Shift, size the display. That's that system. Right click again, show ICAS upper, which is the engine instruments. Control to move, Shift to scale. Now you can see that these systems are all sitting on top of each other, so one computer can run the entire captain's side of the flight deck. In fact, one computer with two outputs can run the captain's side and the first officer's side. So it's a very flexible system, very cheap to set up a home cockpit system if you're going to do that. Right click again, show ICAS lower, the other engine instrument screen again, Shift for scaling and Control for moving. Okay, so the screen's a bit of a mess now. How do we get it back to something that is correct? Right click, turn ICAS off, right click again. I want these in a default position, so we can say right click, PFD, position reset. You'll notice that the other screens also have a position reset, but we want PFD position reset, and that resets the screens for you. You can move the primary flight display and the navigation display together. Hold down Shift and you can see that they track each other as well. So right click, PFD position reset. Now the window will also scale if you need to move the window around the screen for any reason. Okay, so I'll just bring this back out here again. There we go. Let's just take a look at setting up across a network. You'll see down here it says network address. Now if you are running the avionics across a network, this is the screen you need to fill in. If you're running on one computer, you don't need to fill this section out whatsoever. So you need to know the IP address of the AeroServer computer. How do you do that? Well, on your AeroServer computer, in the taskbar, you should have icon for your network. I've got a Windows XP system running here. I've right clicked on the network settings, we'll go to support and you can see IP address. This is the IP address for the system that the avionics is running on, but if you do this on the AeroServer system, the system that you're running FlightSim on, this will be another number, probably 192.168.1.2 or something like that. Enter this number into the avionics computer, into this dialog box here, and that will connect the avionics across your network to the FlightSim computer. Let's take a look at some of the other functions on the menu. Sound, you can have altitude calls as you get lower, and the sound also enables altitude alert. Full screen mode, we'll select full screen. The system is now in full screen. It's cut off on your displays because I've restricted the capture area for this tutorial. Right click again, turn off full screen. Right click again, we have the about box. It's 737-800. We're running the Aerosoft Avionics package. The nav aids are listed here, the airports, the waypoints, the runways and the number of routes, so quite a large amount of data. Where does all that data come from? Or data, however you like to say that. It comes from this folder here, C drive, Aerosystems. This is where the software has been installed, and there is no other way, or no other path I should say, to install the software. You can see we've got the avionics software here, the AeroServer here. This is a GoFlight DLL, so for those of you using the MCP Pro and the EFIS system, the system will work straight out of the box. There's nothing else you need to set up. You do need to plug in your GoFlight system into the avionics computer, the computer that's running this software. So the data is found in nav data. Double click on that and you can see the files that Aerosystems use. This data is supplied by Navigraph, and look for the Aerosystems folder on the FMS data on Navigraph to download the latest cycle. If the Aerosystems data isn't there, you can download the Level D PIC 767 data. They are compatible. You'll need to install it and then copy or move that data into the Aerosystems folder. So that's where the nav data lives for the system if you need to update it for any reason. But the 2008 data is going to be good enough for most users. Flight plans are stored in here. We can see we've got 5 plans here, and the flight plans aren't in text format, they're in binary format, so you can't get in there and edit them. The way you set up a flight plan is simply by using the flight management computer here, selecting route, pressing request, and you can press load, and that will load the flight plans from this folder here, which is one of these flight plans. So if I press load now, you can see that these flight plans here match these flight plans in the folder itself. If we go back to root, request, there's a button here called SimRoutes. If I press the SimRoutes button, it brings up the Aerosoft Australia webpage with instructions on how to create your own flight plan using SimRoutes. So you can say YSSY, arriving at YMML, press find plans, and it comes up with a number of plans. Let's choose this plan here, click on that, and select FSX, download the flight plan, and you'll need to save that plan into the correct folder. That correct folder is Aerosystems Flight Plans. Or you can go ahead and enter the plan into the flight management computer yourself. That will be covered in another tutorial. One other thing I should mention that's quite important is that the system's been set up for the default aircraft, the 737. It may work with other aircraft, with other flight models. It probably will, but if in doubt, use the default model. What we also need to talk about is the autopilot inside Flight Sim itself. So I'll bring up that autopilot. Don't touch any of the autopilot system whatsoever in Flight Sim, because the Aerosoft avionics package will actually interfere with it. You will notice though that the command light will come on and the altitude light will come on in Flight Sim if you do happen to look at the system, as will the auto throttle, but they're the only parts of the system that are used with the software. So rule of thumb, don't touch any of the autopilot in the system, because as you probably know, the Aerosoft software comes with a mode control panel, which is the autopilot system, so it will interfere. Thanks for watching the tutorial on how to set up the system. As you can see, very simple. To summarize, if you're running on one machine, all you need to do is run the Aero server and the avionics package itself, and off you go.